Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, so you know all those tools like ChatGPT you've probably heard about.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, now imagine those being used to analyze interviews and text. And that's what's causing a bit of a stir, shall we say, in the research community.
I can imagine. It's like mixing oil and water, isn't it?
Kinda, yeah. And the thing is, we've got all these emails between researchers, and it's like reading a philosophical thriller.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, complete with moments of what they call Grusel.
Grusel? What's that?
It's German.
Huh.
It means like feeling creeped out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and it kind of captures the reaction that some people are having to this new AI-powered app for qualitative research.
Huh. Well, this is fascinating already, I have to say. It's not just about a new piece of software, is it?
No, not at all.
It sounds like we might be talking about a paradigm shift.
Yeah, and a big one, too.
Like the kind Thomas Kuhn talked about.
Exactly.
Remember, like, back when everyone thought the Earth was the center of the universe, and then Copernicus comes along, and boom, everything changes?
Yeah, totally. And some researchers think AI could do that to their field.
Wow. Okay, so let's break this down then.
Yeah, so all these emails we have, they're basically centered around this new app called Q Insights.
Q Insights.
Yeah, and it was created by this researcher, Dr. Suzanne Fries.
Okay.
And her big claim is that it can analyze data without coding.
Without coding. No, that's a bold statement.
Right, and that's what's really set off this whole debate.
Yeah, because coding is like the cornerstone of qualitative research, right?
Totally. It's all about meticulously categorizing and labeling all that data to find those patterns and themes.
Right. Painstaking work.
Exactly. But Dr. Fries is saying that with AI, we might not need to do that anymore.
She's basically saying coding could become obsolete.
Yeah, and she even compares it to the early days of, computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software.
Keku.
Yeah, Kekidu's. Back then, researchers tried to make traditional methods like grounded theory work with the software.
Right, even though Glaser, the guy who created grounded theory, was totally against using software.
Yeah, he thought it would water down the research process.
Interesting. So is Dr. Fries saying that researchers will eventually come around to AI just like they did with Kekius?
Yeah, that seems to be her argument.
Yeah.
She sees AI as a chance to not just tweak things a little, but to really rethink how we do qualitative research.
A fundamental shift.
Exactly. She's talking about a conversational analysis with AI, where researchers can use AI to engage with the data in a more intuitive way.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could be a paradigm shift.
Right, and it seems like that without coding claim is the thing that's really triggering. It's like that moment when you realize the old model doesn't fit the data anymore.
Like those anomalies that early astronomers were finding.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
And just like Kuhn said, people don't always welcome that kind of change.
Of course not. Change can be scary.
Yeah, and in these emails, some researchers are pushing back hard against Dr. Fries's ideas.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're worried about losing rigor, they're worried about AI being misused, and they're worried about the whole nature of qualitative research changing in ways we don't even understand yet.
I can see why they'd be concerned. It's a lot to process.
Definitely. And there's this one quote that I think sums up the anxiety perfectly.
Oh, what is it?
One researcher writes, "I have some concern about future submissions in which it is radiantly reported. My analysis method was Q Insights with AI without coding. Version XY."
Wow, that's pretty pointed.
Right. It almost sounds like they're joking, but you can hear the worry in their words.
Yeah, definitely. It raises this question of what even counts as valid research anymore? If AI is doing all the work, what's the researcher actually doing?
Exactly. Are they just pushing a button and accepting whatever the AI spits out? No critical thinking, no interpretation.
Right. And that leads to the big question at the heart of this potential paradigm shift.
Are we headed towards a future where AI becomes the main interpreter of qualitative data?
Or is there some way to integrate AI while still holding on to the core values of the field? Things like deep understanding context, the researcher's own subjective interpretation.
That's the million-dollar question, and that's what these researchers are wrestling with in these emails.
Some are excited about the possibilities, and others are really apprehensive.
It's like watching a whole field try to figure out its own future in real time.
That's a great way to put it. It's like we're witnessing history in the making.
And this is just the beginning.
Oh, I can't wait to dive deeper into this.
Me too.
Oh.
AI whispers, let's dive in. Qualitative flow, leading the way. Discover the tales.
Welcome to our deep dive today. We're tackling a question that's, it's got the qualitative research world buzzing.
Oh, yeah?
Can AI really analyze data without humans doing any coding?
It's a question that has sparked some seriously heated debate, and we're going right into the heart of it.
Okay.
Unpacking an email exchange between researchers grappling with this very issue.
And what about established methodologies like grounded theory or qualitative content analysis? Do those just go out the window?
That was another big concern.
Yeah.
These methodologies have been developed over decades, providing a systematic way to analyze data and ensure rigorous, replicable results.
So are we basically throwing away the rule book and hoping for the best with AI?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Suzanne argued that AI isn't about abandoning these methods, but about re-examining them. She even suggested that the way coding is often done in KQDA's software, that's computer-assisted qualitative data analysis, for those who haven't encountered it before,
Okay.
might have actually led researchers away from the original spirit of grounded theory.
Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me.
Sure.
What is grounded theory and how has software potentially muddied the waters?
Grounded theory, in a nutshell, is a method where you build your theory from the ground up based on the data you collect. It's all about letting the data guide you, rather than starting with preconceived notions.
So it's about staying open to surprises and unexpected insights. I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Suzanne's argument was that the heavy emphasis on coding in KQDA software might have led researchers to focus too much on categorizing data, and not enough on the deeper conceptual analysis that grounded theory is all about.
Okay.
So I'm getting so caught up in labeling the ingredients that you forget to actually taste the cake.
So the tool itself might have inadvertently shaped the research process rather than the other way around.
Precisely.
Wow.
And that's why this discussion is so important.
Yeah.
It's pushing us to examine how technology, even with the best of intentions,
Right.
can subtly influence our approach to research.
And what about the other researchers in this email chain? Did anyone else have strong opinions on this AI shakeup?
Well, researcher CC jumped in with a completely different approach, one that embraces AI, but in a more nuanced way. They proposed the idea of using multiple LLMs, or large language models, think ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, as part of a hybrid interpretation group.
Okay, now you're just throwing jargon at me.
Sorry.
What on earth is a hybrid interpretation group?
Think of it as a research team,
Okay.
but with both human and AI members.
Right.
Instead of relying solely on human analysis
Right.
or handing the reins over to AI, it's about creating a collaborative space where humans and AI work together to make sense of the data.
So it's like a research brain trust, but with AI sitting at the table. I'm picturing some intense brainstorming sessions with ChatGPT battling it out with Claude over the best interpretation of the data.
That's a pretty good image.
Uh-huh.
And CC's idea wasn't just about humans using AI.
Okay.
They envisioned these LLMs actually interacting with each other,
Wow.
comparing their analyses
Yeah.
and debating their interpretations.
That's so cool.
It's like having multiple perspectives, both human and artificial, all contributing to a richer understanding of the data.
Okay, now that's a mind-blowing concept. So we've got Suzanne pushing for a radical rethinking of methodology, XX expressing concerns about transparency and established methods,
Right.
and CC proposing this wild idea of AI-powered research teams.
Right.
Where did the conversation go from there?
Well, faced with such diverse viewpoints, researcher XX, who'd initially been quite skeptical,
Yeah.
acknowledged that AI is probably here to stay.
Uh-huh.
They even proposed organizing a conference to bring together methodologists, software developers, and new researchers to figure out how to best integrate AI into qualitative research.
So even those who are wary of AI are starting to see the potential for collaboration and finding common ground.
Yeah.
It sounds like this debate is less about rejecting AI outright and more about figuring out how to use it responsibly and ethically.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
about having a critical but open conversation about the role AI will play in the future of qualitative research.
And that's where things get even more interesting, because another researcher, ZZ, brought up a whole new set of challenges and potential pitfalls, but we'll delve into those in part 2 of our
AI whispers, let's dive in. Qualitative flow, leading the way. Discover the tales in a digital sway.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of AI and qualitative research.
We left off with researcher ZZ about to drop some truth bombs about the potential downsides of AI in academia. They painted a pretty stark picture, talking about things like profession upheaval,
Right.
Now, that doesn't exactly sound like a sunny future for researchers.
Right, and it's understandable why some researchers might feel apprehensive.
Yeah.
ZZ's concern was that as AI becomes more sophisticated, it could start automating tasks that were traditionally done by humans. Imagine AI writing literature reviews or even conducting entire research projects with minimal human input.
Okay, I see where they're coming from.
Right.
But haven't we always had new technologies disrupting the status quo?
Yeah.
I mean, the printing press probably freaked out a few monks back in the day.
That's a great point.
Right.
And ZZ acknowledged that historical context. Their argument wasn't about rejecting AI outright, but about understanding the potential consequences,
Right.
both for individual researchers and for the field as a whole.
So it's not about clinging to the past, but about figuring out how to navigate this new landscape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do we ensure that AI enhances research rather than replacing the human element entirely? And how do we prepare for the potential shifts in the academic job market?
Right, because let's be honest, qualitative research is all about human understanding, empathy, and interpretation.
Right.
Can AI really replicate that?
That's a question a lot of researchers are grappling with.
Yeah.
And it goes back to Suzanne's point about human-AI collaboration.
Okay.
She argued that instead of fearing AI, we should see it as a powerful tool that can augment our capabilities, not replace them.
It's like AI can handle the heavy lifting, sorting through mountains of data, identifying patterns, but it's still up to humans to make sense of it all,
Right.
to connect the dots and draw meaningful conclusions.
That's a great analogy. It's about finding that sweet spot where AI and human expertise complement each other.
Right.
And that brings us to another concern ZZ raised, the issue of censorship in LLMs.
Oh, right, because these large language models are trained on massive data sets, right?
Right.
So couldn't that reflect biases or limitations in the data itself?
That's the worry.
Yeah.
If an LLM is trained primarily on texts from Western cultures, for example, it might struggle to accurately analyze data from other cultural contexts.
It's like trying to understand a joke from a culture you're not familiar with.
Yeah.
You might miss the nuances or even misinterpret the meaning entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a theoretical concern.
Okay.
It has real-world implications for research, especially in fields like sociology, anthropology, or political science, where understanding diverse perspectives is essential.
So how do we ensure that AI doesn't end up perpetuating biases or limiting our understanding of the world?
It comes down to being aware of the potential pitfalls. Researchers need to be critical of the data sources used to train LLMs and be mindful of the potential for bias in the outputs.
And probably be transparent about those limitations when presenting their findings, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Transparency is key.
Yeah.
Researchers need to be upfront about the methods they've used, the data they've analyzed, and any potential limitations of their approach.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But speaking of limitations, there's another issue that came up in the email exchange that I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Replicability.
Oh, right.
You know, the idea that another researcher should be able to follow the same steps and get the same results.
Yeah.
How does that work with AI, which is constantly learning and evolving?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Traditional research methods are designed to be replicable,
Right.
which helps ensure the validity and reliability of findings.
Huh.
But with AI, there's an element of randomness and constant evolution that makes it difficult to recreate the exact conditions of a study.
So does that mean AI research is inherently less reliable?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It just means we need to think differently about replicability.
Okay.
Suzanne brought up a really interesting point in the email exchange.
Okay.
She challenged the notion that even human researchers are perfectly replicable.
Hmm.
We all bring our own experiences, biases, and interpretations to the research process.
You're right. We're not robots.
Really.
So if perfect replicability isn't ideal, we might never fully achieve, even with human researchers.
Right.
How do we address that in the context of AI?
By focusing on transparency.
Okay.
If we clearly document our methods, our decision-making process, and the limitations of our data, it allows other researchers to understand our approach and build upon our work,
Okay.
even if they can't perfectly replicate every step.
Transparency seems to be a recurring theme here.
Yeah.
It's like the foundation for building trust and ensuring ethical AI-assisted research.
Exactly. It's not about blindly accepting AI outputs, but about understanding how those outputs were generated, what the limitations might be, and how they fit into the larger research context.
Well, this deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about.
Good.
AI's potential in qualitative research is undeniable.
It is.
But it's clear that there are also serious challenges to address.
Right.
We've talked about potential job displacement, the risk of bias in LLMs, and the difficulty of ensuring replicability.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? What does the future hold for AI in qualitative research?
That's the million-dollar question.
I know, right?
And while we don't have a crystal ball,
Right.
there are some exciting developments happening right now that offer a glimpse into what's possible.
Okay.
In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore a fascinating example of how researchers are using AI in a truly innovative way.
AI whispers, let's dive in. Qualitative flow, leading the way. Discover the tales in a digital sway.
Welcome back to the deep dive. This whole conversation about AI, it has me thinking, are we on the verge of a research revolution?
Like, could AI actually change the way we understand the world?
Well, that's the exciting part, isn't it? And remember that concept of hybrid interpretation groups that we touched on earlier?
Yeah.
Well, that's not just a theory. Researchers are actually putting it into practice right now.
Wait, really? So it's not just humans using AI as a tool.
Right.
It's humans and AI actually working together as a team.
Exactly.
Tell me more.
Okay, so picture this. A group of researchers is working on a project analyzing interviews about people's experiences with healthcare.
Okay.
They've got transcripts and research questions, but instead of slogging through coding alone,
Right.
they've brought in some AI collaborators.
AI collaborators. So are we talking about robots sitting in on focus groups? Not quite robots, but close. They're using multiple LLMs.
Okay.
Those large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini
Right.
as part of their analysis team.
Whoa, so it's not just humans analyzing the data.
Right.
It's humans and AI working together.
Yes.
How does that even work?
It's about creating a multi-layered dialogue.
Okay.
Imagine the researchers asking a question like,
Okay.
what are the main themes emerging from these interviews about healthcare experiences?
Okay.
Each LLM might analyze the data and come up with its own set of themes, but here's the key.
What's that?
They don't just spit out a list of keywords.
Okay, so what do?
They actually engage in a back-and-forth discussion with each other,
Oh, wow.
comparing their findings, challenging each other's interpretations, and refining their analysis based on the feedback they receive.
Wait, so the AI is actually debating with itself.
Right.
How do we know it's not just mimicking human arguments?
That's where the human researchers come in.
Okay.
They're listening in on this AI discussion,
Yeah.
asking follow-up questions, and guiding the analysis based on their own expertise.
So the humans are like the referees in this AI debate match.
You could say that. It's a true collaboration.
Yeah.
The AI brings its ability to process vast amounts of information and identify patterns,
Yeah.
while the humans bring their critical thinking skills, contextual understanding, and research expertise.
This is so much more nuanced than I initially imagined. It's not about replacing humans. It's about creating a more powerful research process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this field so exciting.
Oh.
We're just beginning to explore the potential of AI.
Right.
And these hybrid interpretation groups offer a glimpse into what the future of qualitative research might look like.
When we started this deep dive, I was a little apprehensive about AI.
Yeah, understandable.
It all felt a bit sci-fi, a bit out there.
It is a huge shift, and it's natural to have questions and concerns.
But now I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic.
Oh.
If we can use AI responsibly, ethically, and collaboratively,
Right.
it feels like it could unlock some really incredible discoveries.
I agree.
Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into AI and qualitative research.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the philosophical implications of AI
Aye.
to the practical ways it's being used in research right now.
And as always, we hope this conversation has left you with plenty to ponder.
Absolutely.
The world of AI is constantly evolving,
It is.
and it's up to all of us to stay informed, ask critical questions, and shape the future of this powerful technology.
So keep those brains buzzing, keep those questions coming,
Yeah.
and join us next time for another deep dive into the world of ideas.
See you then.
Until then, stay curious.
AI whispers, let's dive in. Qualitative flow, leading the way. Discover the tales in a digital sway.